As students, I am Praveen Sebastian Paul. In this lecture, we are discussing the law and rules governing the organ donation and transplantation in India. The main provisions of the THO Act and the newly passed Gazette by the Government of India includes the following. Firstly, for living donation, it defines who can donate without any legal formalities. The relatives who are allowed to donate include mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, and spouse. Recently, in the new Gazette, grandparents have been included in the list of first relative. The first relative are required to provide proof of their relationship by genetic test or by legal documents. In the event of there being no first relatives, the recipient and the donor are required to seek special permission from the government appointed authority committee and appear for an interview in front of the committee to prove that the motive of donation is purely out of altruism or affection for the recipient. The second one is the brain death and its declaration. Brain death is defined by the following criteria. 2 certifications are required 6 hours apart from doctors, and 2 of these have to be doctors nominated by the appropriate authority of the government, with one of 2 being an expert in the field of neurology. The third one is the regulation of transplant activities by formulating an authorization committee AC and appropriate authority AA in each state or union territory. Each has a defined role as follows. First of all, the role of authorization committee, that is AC. The purpose of this body is to regulate the process of authorization to approve or reject transplants between the recipient and donor other than first relative. The primary duty of the committee is to ensure that the donor is not being exploited for monetary consideration to donate their organ. The joint application made by the recipient and the donor is scrutinized, and a personal interview is essential to satisfy to the AC the genuine motive of the donation and to ensure that the donor understands the potential risk of the surgery. The information about the approval or rejection is sent by email to the concerned hospitals. The second one is the role of appropriate authority AA. The purpose of this body is to regulate the removal, storage, and transplantation of human organs. A hospital is permitted to perform such activities only after being licensed by the authority. The removal of eye from a dead body of a donor is not governed by such an authority and can be done at other premises and does not require any licensing procedure. The powers of AA include inspecting and granting registration to the hospital for transplant surgery, enforcing the required standard for hospital, conducting regular inspection of the hospital to examine the quality of transplantation and follow up medical care of donor and recipient, suspending or cancelling the registration or airing of the hospital, and conducting investigation into compliments for breach of any provision of the Act. The AA issues a license to the hospital for a period of 5 years at a time and can renew the license after the period. Each organ requires a separate license. There are application forms for organ transplantation. The Transplantation of Human Organ Act clearly lay out various procedures for this purpose. It has 13 different forms. The Government of India has amended the Transplantation of Act in 1994 to include certain changes called the Transplantation of Human Organs Rule 1995. Given below are the important points from the rule. First one is the authority for removal of human organ. Any donor may authorize the removal before his death of any human organ of his body for therapeutic purposes as specified in the law. The law had made more comprehensive and are to be submitted with the proof of identity and address marriage registration certificate, family photographs, etc. with assertion by the notary public. The Gazette states that before removing a human organ from the body of a donor before his death, a medical practitioner should satisfy himself that the donor has given authorization form, that is a form 1A, if the relative is a closer relative, that is a mother, father, brother, son or daughter. Form 1B is used for the spouse and Form 1C is used for other relatives. He should also confirm the following, that is, the donor is a proper state of health and is fit to donate the organ. The registered medical practitioner should then sign a certificate in specified form, that is form number 2. The donor is a close relative of the recipient, a certified form in form 3 and his signed form 1A should be submitted. Thirdly, the donor has submitted an application form in form 10 jointly with the recipient and the proposed donation has been approved by the concerned competent authority. The relation between the donor and recipient also need to be examined to the satisfaction of the registered medical practitioner in charge of the transplant center. In case of the recipient being a spouse of the donor has given a statement to the effect that they are so related by signing a certificate in Form 1B and has submitted an application in Form 10 jointly with the recipient and the proposed donation has been approved by the concerned competent authority. In case of the donor who is other than a close relative, the donor has signed Form 1C, submitted an application in Form 10 jointly with the recipient, and permission from the Authorization Committee for donation has been obtained. A registered medical practitioner shall, before removing a human organ from a body of a person after death, confirm the following. Firstly, the donor had, in the presence of 2 or more witnesses, at least one of whom is a close relative of the recipient, unequivocally authorized as specified in Form 5 before his death the removal of the human organ of his body after his death for therapeutic purposes, and there is no reason to believe that the donor had subsequently revoked the authority. Secondly, the person lawfully in possession of the dead body has signed a certificate as specified in Form 6. The registered medical practitioner shall, before removing a human organ from the body of a person in the event of brainstem death, confirm the following. Firstly, a certificate has specified in Form 8 has been signed by all the members of the Board of Medical Experts. Secondly, in the case of brainstem death of a person of less than 18 years of age, a certificate specified in Form 8 has been signed by all the members of the Board of Medical Experts, and an authority as specified in Form 9 has been signed by either of the parents of person. So my dear students, these are the fundamental legal aspects about the THO Act of India. So my dear students, kindly go through these assignment questions. Question number 1 is, write about the legal and ethical aspects of organ donation and transplantation in India. The second question is, write about the law and rules governing the organ donation and transplantation in India. And thirdly, who have the authority for removal of human organ? So my dear students, kindly go through this assignment question and we will discuss the international organizations for organ transplantation in the upcoming lectures. So my dear students, see you soon. Until then, goodbye. Thank you and all the best.